Man, what a chapter. This week's chapter was really insane. The stuff around, like, what we got, obviously, with, like, Misaki. I don't know, I'll give my stance on Misaki in that situation in a moment. But we got, like, a lot of just kind of calming moments, just generally looking and assessing at what's going on. And then the obvious big hype thing. I personally didn't think we would see Selene and Ignia in their dragon forms fighting until maybe like chapter 109 to 110. That was my guess. I didn't think we were gonna get it this chapter. But anyway, the chapter begins. Again, I mentioned in this stream, I like Gachil's hard dedication to being a dad. But like he's building a like solid metal crib. I feel like that's not the best idea. This is an anime baby, so it's gonna be like a million times more durable than a real baby. And I was like wondering, like, well, would the baby have any Dragon Slayer traits? Because I was thinking, like, we don't know entirely how that works, but we do have Urza, so it's like, logically, as far as we know, that she's not, like, none of Levi's children are going to be born with any of Gajil's Dragon Slayer traits. As far as we know, maybe it'll be different. Maybe it's one of those cases where it's like a degree, but not entirely. Like, it wouldn't surprise me if Urza had some form of dragon genes, just a little bit in there. But yeah, just as a nice little wholesome thing that we got, but at the same time, I'm like, probably uncomfortable. But then the next chapter title, Flame and Moon. I was really happy though that when thinking about it, it's like we don't have like the chapter title of the next chapter at the end like we used to, because it would have been really obvious with this one. It's like Misaki probably would be done and we would be moving on to the Ignia and Selene fight, and then we would have known that for 2 weeks. Like I feel like it would have been very clear if we knew the title, but because of like the way that it's set up digitally, we didn't know, which made even more of a surprise. The chapter begins. Urza comes back out of Misaki's dimension, and she's about to take the damage from it when Wendy shows. One thing is like the translations. I don't know if this is just the fan translations or just weird naming, but it's like when he uses Sky Dragon's breath. Unless that's kind of like how Sting has a roar and a holy breath, and just like, well, maybe this just has a slightly different effect. But like otherwise, it's just like, wouldn't she just be using like generic healing, or is this specifically like a large scale healing spell that she has now? Or I guess just kind of like large AOE or however it's gonna be. But she ends up healing Urza, and Urza's saying like with all the damage pretty much that she's able to, like she's like barely holding on. But like when he's like saying how like because of the recovering magic, the damage was helping with it, like it's helping the damage, but it's obviously far worse because it's like a weird effect thing and not like actual damage. Well, no, because it's not just the sense thing. It's like a weird extra way that damage is applied, obviously, with like this dimensions rule. But that was cool to confirm that Misaki doesn't get damaged by it, even when she's in, like if she gets damaged in her dimension, which again, I think that made sense considering he's a Dragon Slayer and we know that they aren't really affected by their own magic. But on top of that, I thought that was actually really cool that like even in a scenario where Misaki could lose, you still take the damage coming out of her dimension no matter what. So like that actually sets her up realistically to like have matches where she can pretty much just cheat in ties. Like if Wendy wasn't there, Urza like would bore. No, I think it would still be like a win because Urza was still conscious. And as far as we know, Misaki's loss is still a little vague. But otherwise, it's like she might have gone down from the pain of all that damage, and then it would have been a tie. But you can give it a little more to Urza. She was still, from at least from what we know, conscious, whereas as far as we know, Misaki is unconscious. Again, though, I do want to say, like, Misaki, quote-unquote defeat, it's a little weird because, like, we get nothing of really, like, focus on it. Like, we get, like, this shadow around her eyes. She's, like, no panels that really show her, actually unconscious, which is, one of the normal defeat things. And on top of that, she doesn't look too battle damaged. She only has part of her shirt ripped. Her crown is a little damaged. Like the only thing to me is like if he just like straight throws her away, considering he hasn't done that with any of the Dragoners, it'd be really odd if he did that with her. My hopes would be like maybe it's a way that Misaki, like if Misaki gets back up later, maybe it's something like where she only lost because she got caught in that attack from Urza, and she ends up fighting again, wins, and then maybe like they have a third round where it's like more of a mutual respect and they have like an actual battle. I don't know. It's the weird thing right now with like the Misaki stuff, because like Misaki getting like clapped last chapter again. I'll just say that she lost until we're otherwise confirmed, because it's not like the last chapter was left a little bit kind of on the edge where it's like at least this chapter it's still a little vague. but we have nothing. We have way more to suggest that she's defeated than not defeated. So like right now, I'll just say defeated until we get back to her. But I think it'd be really cool if we got something kind of like a Kira and Lactus scenario, but it was instead done like we get another fight. It's Misaki putting in way more serious effort, taking Urza more seriously. Maybe she barely beats Urza, but like Urza just takes it as similar to like her Lactus fight, where it's like, cool, now I want to overtake you now, and I want to beat you. I now want somebody like to put a benchmark. Again, somebody like a rival, I think would be cool, and then maybe like a one more match later down the line where Urza ends up winning. And it's just one of the things where it would build a lot more, I think, value later if it's like, oh, well, the first fight, Urza won because of Misaki getting caught in an attack. Second one, actual fight, right from the go. They were way more serious, way more aware of each other. And Misaki wins by the skin of her teeth. And then you get like an Urza eventually like win that final round. I think that would be really cool. Just because I like the idea. Because otherwise it's like, what's Misaki gonna do? Is Mishima just like not gonna do anything with her? Because like I mentioned, like every other Dragon Eater has gotten something and gotten chunks of information to their character that have made them more valuable. But like Misaki will have nothing other than combat, which will only be like a short fight where she lost the first time. So we'll see like where it is large scale. Maybe she'll get back up in like a chapter or two and she's not actually defeated. It's just one of those things where she just kind of got into a bad position and that kind of screwed her over. But regardless of which, at least as of right now, she is done. I had the idea like maybe Mishima is gonna like use this as a scenario to like move as many Diablos members out, because pretty much all of them except for Suzaku and Kirin are unconscious. So you can just grab the other guys, pull them out of there. Well, no, Madmul and Scullion were unconscious. They're just beating hell up. But grab them all, get them out of the labyrinth, and then using Natsu and Suzaku, we could get to that point where we explain to them that it's a misunderstanding. The guilds can actually unite together, because now they should have a common enemy with Selene, and especially right now they're not in a spot where most of them are really going to be able to fight, because with Selene and Ignia fighting, that's just going to be a scenario where you can literally die from the crossfire, because these are two giants battling out at this point. But once they get to the point when he's like wants to go like put Haku next to Misaki, and that's when he's like immediately gets up and like saying he wants to stay with Wendy. I guess he's been awake the whole time and he's just kind of been cool with it, just so he can kind of like chill near Wendy. Again, people need to keep in mind, like his personality comes dramatically into play when it comes to this character. Like he's goofy, he's a little bit silly, he's like a silly kid. But that's obviously just one of the things. It's the double-edged sword of somebody as powerful as he is. And then Gajo just punches him and he goes unconscious. Very similar to like when Brandish got knocked out. It's like these guys are getting put more in like goofy situations, not in more serious ones. And at this point now, they're like, okay, we need to figure out where everyone's separated. We get back to some of a couple of people that haven't been grouped up. We got Laxus and Lucy. Virgo's carrying him, and there's carrying her rather, and there's just kind of that short moment where we're just kind of seeing their characters. At that point, we see Natsu and Suzaku. Now, this is a really badass moment. We have just like just like them walking through the hallway, like going through the labyrinth. There's like a downward staircase hallway going further in the labyrinth. And we get this moment where Suzaku's saying like the magic is more thick and potent as they're going down, and Suzaku is like trying to inform Natsu. It's like, I know, but what's the big deal? And he's like, it means we're getting close for the depths, and you should take heed. And he's trying to tell him to be a little cautious. And Natsu at a really point, he's like, if anything, you're the one that has to be careful telling that, because like the moment Ignia showed up, I've always been ready for her. That's just like a thing we know about Natsu, though. He knows that like there's that switch in some characters when they go from like their normal, more fun kind of side to outright serious. They're ready to get shit done, and we know that Natsu has that that aspect of his character that like if he has the criteria of knowing that this is somebody that he can't just fight and leave alone, he has to kill them, or he has to pretty much do everything he can to neutralize the threat. We know that he will go about that action. He will kill someone if he has to. So him being fully ready, like in this scenario for Ignia, actually like fully prepped, where he's got to potentially get in like a bloody battle to the death, and pretty much whatever he has to in order to prevent any loss of life in his team and his friends. He's gonna put every single effort he can into it. But that was just a badass part for him. I think that is a really cool thing, because it's kind of reminds me of like Natsu obviously running Suzaku. He didn't have initially he didn't have the same level of battle awareness that he would with say like Ignia. But obviously like there's context to put him in a different level of mindset with Ignia than with Suzaku. But you're just seeing that different sense of like where Suzaku is more in a aggressive battle position, where if Natsu is doing that here and Suzaku wasn't nearly as much. And I think that one thing obviously that's different is Natsu knows like how Ignia is in terms of like what he said he's gonna do, and we know that he has a reputation of like how powerful and like just how reckless and destructive he is. And so why would he not be fine killing just random humans in order to get Natsu and them kind of more geared up, or more kind of just geared up to fight him? So after that, and we see just like their interactions, I think that like this is doing some really good stuff of getting Natsu and Suzaku more acquainted, because like Suzaku's gotten a lot of general knowledge of Natsu right at like after these last few bits. So I think now that they could actually have like a connection, like and understand each other, where like if Suzaku heard Natsu explain the story of misunderstanding, I think he would probably find him a little bit more genuine, since he knows that like he has no reason to lie about it. He's willing to tell him more important, like detailed stuff to his character. But as it were, like I feel like it's something that we're gonna see probably more when things get more settled down, because there has to be I think something that gives that nice solidification of Natsu and Suzaku's character. Like if they get into a fight here with one of them, again, I don't really know how they're gonna get into this battle now, because Suzaku and Natsu versus Celine or Ignia alone, I could see more of a skirmish, but like obviously they can't do anything to like the two of them in one area. It's like I could see like Suzaku and Natsu having those moments where maybe they block an attack for the other and they kind of gain that respect, that warrior's respect they would have. But then the big beat of the chapter, the big content, I think everybody was way more intrigued about. There's so much interesting information and just bits that we are dropping in the end. Is first that we see Ignia. Ignia is now in the center point of the labyrinth. He's in like the whole treasure room. He's found the heart of Eleftheria, the law dragon. And he has this moment that's really cool. Is he's saying that like Dogramag, he used the heart in order to advance his plan. Which, how did that whole setup work? Like, how did Dogramag plan on getting the heart? Or did he go after Eleftheria? Did he just kind of bait Eleftheria in? Is it one of those circumstances where he just, even though he lost, he saw an opportunity that actually worked for him and started to put his plans into motion? And then there's the whole thing with the fact that it's like a plan that he and Ignia both had. What is it? Like, what are they scheming? What would he need the heart in order to do? But he's like saying how, now he's used the heart pretty much to advance their plan. And Ignia is saying that, he was his only one true friend. Sad. I wonder if we're going to get a flashback at some point. Maybe see Dogramag alive through Ignia. I think that logically would make sense. If we see like a flashback of whenever Ignia formed this plan, we could see Dogramag in his normal, like, living self. I think that'd be great. I don't need to see a fight with Dogramag. I would love to get a flashback of the Eleftheria and Dogramag fight to see what the two of them, battling was actually like. But I'm perfectly fine with just getting some story lore stuff and getting a look at what his actual design is, and not just skeleton. So I mean that'll be a plus if we get to that. I think the bigger thing, obvious bigger thing, not just his visual design, is getting more lore and information on Ignia, and more of that kind of side to Ignia that I think we would benefit a lot from, because we like him just having some more conversation with dragons. Very cool, because then that's more of like one that they're having a one-on-one on their species, rather than how he's talking to humans and stuff. Whereas Ignia is saying it's just beginning, and that's when they get like this beautiful, beautiful, massive double spread clash of these two badass big dragons going at it. Ignia destroying the heart, like, I get it, that makes sense. Like, why would he want it? Like, if he's already got like his plan done for the most part with what like they needed the heart for, and to use that part to advance the status it was in, the stages it was at, why would you not want to destroy it after that? Because then nobody could use it against you. Makes a lot of sense. You got your value out of it, bam, let's just make sure that nobody can use it to screw you over. The weird thing to me though after that, it's like Celine, like you see Eleftheria drop down, right? You see Eleftheria drop down, and we know that his body like was able to compensate itself and grow something to replace the heart. But it's like, is it one of those things where maybe because like his heart still existed, and it was just wasn't in his body, that he was still able to live. Where it's like, maybe only if you take out the heart will he be able to live. Where it's like, if it's just straight destroyed, he'll die. But then it's like, there's so many weird questions if like Eleftheria just outright die. Like if Eleftheria dies, like what's gonna happen to like information, like big scale information of like stuff to come up? Who are they gonna get info from? Where are they going to get the reward for the quest? Like, will the 100 years quest be over because the quest giver is dead? How exactly is that all going to work out? You know, there's a bunch of just mystery in that whole corner by itself, because it's like a weird thing. It's like, he didn't need to kill him off. He doesn't have to kill him off, but it'd be weird to kill him off. But it's not like, I don't think anything large scale is really that ruined for killing him off. There would just have to be some logical follow-up and payoff of like the events. Like, what's Mishima going to do after this? I will be sad because I really wanted to see what a Law Dragon did, because a Law Dragon, I assume, would just pretty much be a dragon that knows like large-scale spells, Ars Magia, Abyss Break, Jupiter, Etherion, Dragon Cry, pretty much anything that it possibly could. But then we close out with that hype moment where he says that the Age of Dragons is just beginning. And they clash, and then they have like a moment right between each other. He says, "I'm gonna turn you all to ash," and she does the whole thing about the moon killing you. That's when Natsu and Suzaku kind of just like step out there, and they're looking right at him. And I just feel like, we need to turn around. We need to leave. Let's get out of here. Why would we stand here near these guys? Like, this is a scenario where you might die in the crossfire. You might die just from standing there, like from some stray attack from these two characters. That one just might decide to come out of nowhere and just completely obliterate like your whole existence. And especially because like we've seen Selene in her human form, but this is her full dragon form, and she's going to be fighting somebody that she's going to be actually recognizing as like a full, like, an equal enemy, somebody that she knows she has to put in the effort to defeat. So this is obviously something that we're going to have to actually see them fight with severity, the effort that lives up to the, it's not just like living up to the level that their opponent should be at, because we know that they are equal. So if their opponents are, if their opponents are as strong as they are, they know they can't just screw around. Like, there's the obvious ability matchup that's going to come into play. Like, Selene has her portals, but Ignia can burn magic and stuff, so I don't really know what she's going to have outright in terms of her abilities. Like, they have their dragons, like, outright brute force and stuff, and their own dragon abilities. But Ignia should be able to burn a lot of the stuff that she sent his way. Maybe it'll come down to like some of the specific stats. Maybe Selene will be, more agile, but he's going to be, have more aggressive attacks. I don't know. But regardless of which, like, that's the big hype for now. And I know everybody's been waiting for this chapter since we got since Ignia showed up. I feel like it's been very obvious. Like, the only person that could stop him was Selene, and Viernes is still not around. So, the only person who's going to go up was Selene. And we had a couple chapters of waiting, a couple chapters of us just standing by waiting for this interaction to show up. And now we have it. And we were given a really hype spread just to open up this fight and just to get us up and ready and prepared for like the craziness that's about to be coming out in this chapter. Well, in this upcoming chapters, in this fight, my hope is that it's going to be similar to the Acnologi and Ignia fight, where it's like we get the fight started, we get like a chapter or so. Like, assume that we get like next chapter is like somewhere between like 50 and 60% the Ignia and Selene chapter. Maybe we get like, I think optimally, what I would really like is like a full chapter in Ignia and Selene. Then in chapter 108, we get like somewhere between like a third to half more of that fight. And then we get to stuff like, get some rematches, Gray and Scoleon, Mad Mole, Godchill. I guess that's not a rematch, but you know what I mean? Kyrie and Laxus. We start to get some of those matches, and those can kind of start and conclude while we're doing the Selene and Ignia fight. Or we can just get a full focus Selene and Ignia fight. There's a lot of avenues this can go. I'm just hyped that we have the Selene and Ignia battle that's about to take place, and that double spread just opening up to it was pretty much what I was hoping for, to get like some big badass dragon flex opening into a fight. And then we got just that. We have this badass moment. Next chapter though, hopefully we can see some really crazy things from these characters, and we can see just what they're really capable of in like that full extent. Are we going to see like more wild moon affecting things from Selene? Are we going to see more just large scale fire stuff from Ignia. I don't know. I like with Ignia. I feel like with Ignia, we're gonna have to have something with his fire stated like his like. Imagine if it's like his fire burns away even atoms or something. Like it's something like that where it's like even though we don't see like we see like a big attack, but it's not like, oh, he destroyed a planet or something. But it's like we see this massive attack, but you keep in mind his fire like leaves no trace. It's just ash when he really wants to, or like even without ash. That would be a hype thing to kind of put in there. And we know Celine's is obviously all about like the moon and crazy stuff at the moon. So I don't think she needs to do anything extra. We could just see like the moon doing a couple cool attacks. Maybe she'll shoot some moonbeams down. Maybe, I think that'd be real cool. Like shoot some moonbeams down. Ignia goes and like flies up, intercepts and burns them or something. That'd be pretty sick. Obviously, I don't see any characters really being able to stop them. There's nothing really that they can do to interfere and intervene with this. So nobody's really going to be able to stop them. Like the only other person out there that can do anything is Viernes. It'd be really weird if Viernes showed up though, especially because we don't even know what he looks like. So like him just popping up would be a really odd turn of events. Maybe we'll find out what exactly Ignia's plan is during the fight. Like he's saying that the Era of Dragons is beginning, but he wants to burn down the planet. So like what's his plan though? Is he want only fire dragons? Does he want to make it like a world where only fire dragons really can kind of go out and do stuff? Like just make it like pretty much a giant extra flaming planet? Or maybe he wants to use, like maybe he's doing something with Dogromag to bring the dragons back. Like what would be really cool? Like what if he did something to like mess with the afterlife and like he made it so like a bunch of dragons, he could pretty much revive a ton of different dragons out there and bring them back and restart like their events. I think it'd be really cool if like 100 Years Quest instead ends something with like, you know, bringing back all the dragons instead of, you know, killing off the last of them, because that would be really badass. One, it would be really cool for like a world event, you know, we would obviously shake up everything and how the world is constructed. But it would also really set up a really interesting, you know, alter of plot of like, well, I guess Dragon Slayers are going to be back way more important. And on top of that, probably more, I guess like it would depend on like how, what dragons could actually get to be, you know, to help more humans. Cause there's only so much like people already that have dragon slaying magic and sides that have dragon slaying magic can actually do. There are obviously ways to learn it, but I don't think there's not nearly as many avenues as the threat that the dragons would pose potentially. So that doesn't mean something we're gonna have to wait a little bit for. If Ignia wants to like bring the dragons back, that'd be really hype. But it'd be like, how is he gonna do that? Does he know like where the dragons are hiding? Is he gonna do something again to like bring back the dead? Is he gonna do something to like connect time or an alternate universe? Or is it like a creation thing? I think it'd be really cool if it's like, what if there's like, you know, some form of tree or some form of creation, whether it's by character, like something in the series, either it's creation or natural existence, where you could put the DNA into something. Like say you took like a dragon fang and like a scale and you put it in there and it like grew essentially, like it was almost like a cloning thing for species. And it's like maybe something that has to do with like, oh, you know, if we have like, it was a thing set up for like if our species are one extinct, we would have a way to like come back, but you know, can do it on anything. That's why it's dangerous. But it's like obviously like say like the Aetherius got a hold of it, like their Hell's Cores would have been like 10 times more frightening if they could just mass produce instead of, you know, do it in smaller amounts, you know, and you'd be able to, you know, I assume clone other dragons and devils and demons and whatever the fuck as well. So like something like that would just provide, you know, a very like just a generally very dangerous possibility for events. But anyway, other than that though, like this was a solid chapter. We got a lot of stuff that I think a lot of like most people have been open and hyping for the Indian Slaying stuff. Again, I didn't think we were gonna get it this soon. And on top of that, man, I thought we were just gonna get maybe like a little bit of competition. We actually got like a good amount of information on Ignia and his plans and stuff with Dogromag. So other than that, comment below, thumbs up the video for fun, like, but subscribe and check out my other videos. Matt, appreciate you subscribing. Thank you all for listening. Bye.